Welcome back, and we are moving into our final segment for today. Another very important one as we shift our focus now to the work of the Belize Assembly for People with Diverse Ability, also known as BAPDA. We have with us on set the Secretary of BAPDA, Nicolette Forman, and we have the Vice President, Steve Myles, also with us here. Good morning and welcome.
Good morning. Thank you for having us here.
Yes. And we, of course, are very interested in finding out the work of this particular group. So let's get started and find out what BAPDA has been doing and what you're aiming to do next.
Well, we at BAPDA, we want to do this Friday a dollar drive. And to help the people that can't help themselves to come out, so we can go to them and assist them with what we could assist them with, like with some food or, you know. And we always have doctors coming down. Dr. Rob usually come down from the States, helping people that lose their leg due to diabetic and due to accident, like myself accident. I lost my legs 2014 due to accident. A drunk driver knocked me off my cycle.
Wow.
And so, but the good Lord is good. He have us here. So we are doing this dollar drive to help people that can't help themselves.
You know, Steve, your story, your testimony is probably a very important one. Let me tell you why. 100% of Belizeans always think that they will never, ever, ever, ever qualify to be part of an organization like this.
Yeah.
And can you talk to us about how it changed you and your view of what abilities you had and what new challenges you had?
All right. I just came off my work. I turned 55 August, so I retired now. But before that, I was working with the Ministry of Health doing vector control, malaria. So I was helping people for 33 years and 10 months. And I retired now, and before that, in 2014, I was giving my good friend a helping hand because his vehicle wasn't working, so I carried him, and I got caught in this accident, and I lost my leg in the 17th of March. I lost my leg because it was really bad, but beside that, I had a good wife beside me. Because if you don't have family beside you, I think you won't make it. Because if I didn't have no family beside me, I wouldn't have made it. My life changed because of the accident, one, and two, because I have the good Lord and my wife helping me. And it changed me a lot because they talk to me and I pray, and my wife be at my side 24/7. And the doctors and the nurse, they talk to me too, and so on. I inspire myself, and the doctor told me I'm a very strong somebody. So I told him, he told me when I got this accident, he told me that he doesn't know how I'm here because I lost a lot of my blood until someone came and tied my leg, and so the blood stopped, and I went to the hospital and I got everything done, and they wasn't tend to me that good, but my ankle was messed up, broke up bad, and so my wife, she's the one that saw the worm that was coming from my ankle. So I just signed and tell him, that won't kill me, I will kill that. So I get it off. And by the grace of God, I'm here.
So you had to transition to being an amputee and then learn to use a prosthetic.
Right.
And that's a lot harder than people think.
Right. Lots harder to use. A crutch is hard.
Yeah, yeah. So and this is where being a person with diverse ability, that's where we hear a lot of the challenges. That the world we live in, or let's be very specific, the country we're living in is made for people who have functional limbs.
Right, right, right.
and not necessarily people who have alternative ways of moving around, whether it's a wheelchair, crutches, or
Yeah.
prosthetic. What has it been like for you to realize
Well-
that that step that used to be something you never thought of?
Yeah, well, it's been a challenge for me, but I overcome that challenge because I put my mind and my heart to it that I will do it. I will do everything that I want to do again. I will walk again. I was using the crutch first with the foot, then after that I let go one crutch, I let go the next crutch, and I use a cane, and right now I let go the cane. So I'm walking with, but that's a big challenge, and I always talk to people that lose their legs and things, give them that encouragement so that they can walk again. I tell them not because you lose your leg, you won't walk. You could. Look at me. I go in short pants and I show them, look at me. I'm walking, I walk up steps, I walk up, do everything. So that's a big challenge for me, and I overcome that challenge, and my heart is strong.
Another aspect of your story which is important to me is that in a lot of people's heads, people with diverse ability tend to be a little bit older. You're relatively young.
55.
That the new 27
Yeah.
in my book. But I wanted to ask you this question. You seem to be a very positive person, you know. But how do you shun off the urge to become bitter and to say not only and depressed and to say, listen, this is what I'm going through. You're just insensitive to what I'm going through. Listen, not even one railing there. Not even, you know, you're just selfish. How do you not look at, because Belize, it's not always selfish, you know. Belizeans tend to be sometimes thoughtless. I mean, we don't even think about it. It's not that we are negative about it, we just don't think about it. How do you fight the urge to be bitter and negative?
That's a good question. That's a good task. By the grace of God.
Yeah, right, you got answer.
By the grace of God, we do everything.
Yeah.
God is wonderful.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Let's shift over to Nicolette now. Nicolette, you are a teacher at Stella Maris School. We see you all the time coming on to talk about that, and in every other event that they have. So you have a front seat view as to what the experience is like from people with diverse ability, from babies right
all
up.
the way up to adults.
So talk to us about how this led to your involvement, quite natural, of course, in BAPDA.
As you said, quite natural, exactly. The transitioning for me was quite easy and something that I had thought about for a while because, as you know, I deal with Special Olympics, and that is really for our children. And I realized there's more for them that I could do, that we need to do, other than just sports training. As much as I love my organization, I also have well, I say she's my baby, but she's my little cousin who is special needs. And I realized that she's getting older, and the things that I want for her is limited in the organization in which I was. So I decided, you know what, let me try to seek out another organization where I can be more effective and push not only for her, but for the kids that I also work with who are getting older. And I don't want them to be a burden on society. You know, so I want them to feel included in society. Why I love BAPDA so much, because that's one of the things that we push is inclusion. You know, we're trying to figure out how we can get these people to feel like they're still productive citizens that can contribute to our country. You know, like you said, I may lose the limb, but I haven't lost my life. You know, so I can still
I lose
be
one
active.
ability, but not all abilities.
Exactly.
Right.
Yeah.
And that's why I like this looking of diverse ability. You know, I have lost one, but I still have many. You know, and so it's just a matter of tapping into it. So for me, coming over was seeing how I can do more for our people with diverse ability.
I have
and
one
special needs.
particular area that I want to hone in on, and I think it's so important. You know, you work with Stella Maris and Special Olympics Belize, so you see this firsthand, and you're with the organization now, so you know as well. Children with disabilities, we tend to be a lot, well, we try to be empathetic with them and support. But one of the things we seem not to build a connection towards is that children with disabilities become adults with disabilities.
Right.
And they also still have special needs and integrity and rights that need to be fulfilled. And I've heard the stories of children who graduate from Stella Maris and cannot get a job even though they can. They're fully functional.
Right.
Secondly, if you tie in the element of intellectual disability, which is the disability we don't see, this particular population, it hurts my heart to think about it, are perhaps one of the most neglected as well.
That's true.
What is it like for BAPDA? What are we doing in being able to help people understand that the children that we love to have parties for and donate to and all these things will become grown men and women who need jobs and to support themselves and be independent. And also intellectual disability is a disability that still requires a recognition in our society as adults.
That's true.
And I think that's one of the disabilities that really and truly these people can work. You know? It's just intellect, but they are very hands-on. So I think these people are very much so employable, but they're not given the opportunity. People with disability on a whole is not given the priority I believe that we should be giving to them in Belize. Simple thing, like you said, access to facilities, like you just said just now. When we build, we don't think about those things when we're constructing a building that we're going to need a wheelchair access. You know,
A proper wheelchair access.
Proper,
Right,
yeah.
right.
Sometimes
A ramp is
Ramp,
not
yeah.
proper.
yeah, sometimes we know we need to throw up a ramp there, but
Yeah.
you don't realize that also is a hindrance when you're trying to get up.
Yeah.
So it's
There's
really
a specific degree it
planning
has to
Right,
be.
with people with disability in mind, and very mindful of them, not saying, oh, we need one, like a second thought, as opposed to it being something within the planning process.
Yeah.
So one of the things,
And I think to me, in this in the disability area, we are getting a lot of people that is losing a limb in Belize. We are getting a lot of people that are losing a limb, and I think to me, the entire government or so on should try to do something to help people with disabled, because we right here at BAPDA, we don't even have a building for ourselves.
we share on
We are shared by
to Bruce and Vernon Street, the
Street.
mental health building that is
Oh,
there.
you're there now?
Yeah, we have a
that's where
space in
they're
there.
just giving us our office to stay in
Wow.
for now, right? All of this with that's the building right there. All of
It's
this
where
with
the Welcome Resource Center
yeah.
is, yeah.
with the dollar drive tomorrow, we try we went to high schools to try to do it tomorrow for us, and we are having it tomorrow right at the center right there.
Yeah, we're gonna have our tent set up.
We
have
a tent,
asking
so
you to come and
anybody
drop
can
off your
come and drop their little
donations.
dollar or so on. We'll have water, we'll have everything right there, and go ahead.
I want to make a bigger point, which is that, we talk about persons with disabilities, but our society has a disability. And the disability of our society is the inability to recognize that all citizens have a contribution to make. The slogan, our ability is greater than our disability, is an important one, because I had the privilege. One of the things that I always say is one of the blessings of having a Jesuit education was I had the opportunity to teach at Stella Maris. And my experience there really shaped who I am now in human rights and even as a Belizean. But one of the things I learned was that people with diverse ability, they might lose or have a restriction in one area, but they're extremely strong in another.
Yeah.
So you might find that you might have lost a limb, but your upper body strength is tremendous.
Right.
And my question really is, how does BAPDA get a society that is disabled to recognize that disability and to allow persons with diverse ability to make positive and strong contribution? Not the token one, not just Donovan on radio or Marshall Nunes speaking or Mr. Goulson. I'm talking about actual solid contributions.
We got to put in the work. It's as simple as that. We're a small organization. but we just gotta make sure that we pound the pavement, as we say, and make our voices be heard. If we don't push ourselves out there, then of course we will stay in the dark. So one of the things, like you said, with this dollar drivers is one of our first initiative, which is to help the Homebound members. I think it's Leave No One Behind program that we have.
Yeah, where you go and assist
where
people.
we go, because
we
of
go
course,
from door to door.
just like Mr. Myles said, we have people who lose limbs, and of course, even though we get assistance with prosthetics from the people who come in, we have challenges. Some of them, I go back to what Mr. Myles says again. We need assistance. We need government to come on board, because though we have prosthetics, we don't have anybody to help service them, to teach them how to use them.
Because it's a whole new knowledge.
It's a whole new lifestyle, right? And it takes a while to get accustomed to that material on your skin, and we don't have, like I said, we're very small.
Yeah.
We're trying to expand.
You're a very young organization.
Very young. We just came on in 2009, and we're trying to push more now.
One of the things we need in our organization is to get people on board who that can get the knowledge and so on to build the legs. Because we usually get people from outside that comes in and do it. Dr. Rob and his group comes in every 6 months or every year, two times for the year, or one time for the year, or something like that. But if we get a building that we will have all the equipments, all the things to build a leg, so that people with disabilities, the people that lose their limbs and so on, we could give them a shrinker, shape the legs, and take the measurement and build the legs. It would be good, because then they won't have to wait 6 months or 8 months or so on. If you shrink your leg in 2 months and you take the size.
What's the shrinking?
Shrinking is if you cut off the leg and it bigs, you put a shrink over it that is tight, and that will carry down the leg.
Size.
The size, so it can fit in the cup. Right? So that's and when it shrinks to its size, they take the measurement and they build the cup to suit the foot.
Because it has to be a proper fit.
Right.
Yeah. Now, as we talk, I hear so many different priorities and needs, and I can only imagine, you guys probably sit around the table and say, where do we start? And so you're starting with Homebound. But I really want to ask, have you looked at or prioritized things that you want to achieve, not just for the direct recipients, but lobbying to Ministry of Health, to whatever agency there is, to get changes that will impact the life of people with disabilities?
Yeah, well, we have our monthly board meetings. Yeah. We also have our membership meetings, and at these we try to strategize ideas of what we can do. We have our IDs, which is one of the
Forget to begin.
I know, I looked over because I was hoping he had it on today. We start creating IDs to identify people with disabilities.
Okay.
So that's a step. That's a huge step. So that when I come to you, you already know that you need to treat me a little bit different, a little bit more love, a little bit more time, care, and attention, because I'm a little bit different. Yeah. So that ID has really been one of the big programs or projects that we are working on. Yeah. Also, like you said, we have spoken about trying to go to government, trying to go to human development, trying to go to Ministry of Health, and try to get our people more benefits, more access to some of the facilities. So yeah, we are, like we said, we are putting in little groundwork that is going to hopefully develop into something more, but we have to start somewhere, as Marlena said.
Yeah. And I asked that because I know Miss Eva, when she was here, she spoke so often of her challenges in moving around. Right. And that was, she had a prosthetic, but you get tired too. You're resting all your weight on one part of your body. And she was really frustrated. That's how I understood that wheelchair ramps aren't just wheelchair ramps. Like there's a slanted concrete and there's a wheelchair ramp. Yeah. And we still have government buildings that don't have disability
Yeah, very far
accessibility.
behind.
So, how do you get them to listen and say, listen, if we really want to change society, somebody has to be the champion, and the champion can be the leaders in this country. And I'll admit or guilt right here, because you have to come up the steps here at Channel 5, and we've had other times where you have to carry up Jerome and other people too from BAPDA, but we have not been thinking about it, and as society progresses, it needs to be a priority. What has been the feedback in getting them to standardize these types of things, that you should have disability access, that it should be properly done?
Well, we don't get no feedback
Nothing?
from that. We put it in and we announce it out, but we don't get no feedback right now. They should give us some feedback, but I don't know when that will be.
What about Ministry of Labor with people getting and keeping work?
Yes.
If we don't lobby for most of our members, they're forgotten in many cases. So, like I said, we're a small organization trying to plug in a lot of holes.
Yeah.
And just imagine a roof leaking, and the minute you plug one part, another hole is appearing. And that's how it feels for us sometimes. But we also see our little pockets of success that motivates us to keep going, and so that's where we hold on to. If we go somewhere and we get a member saying, I presented my ID, but they didn't pay me any attention, it's very disheartening for us. And then we have great stories that said, I showed my ID, I was able to go here, I was able to go there. So it's a give and take. It's a problem probably that's not going to have a solution right now, but we're just, like we're saying, trying to plug in the gaps in which way that we can. But people just need to do more. Support is always needed in everything that we do.
Both of you have such a unique experience when you know that you see parents who perhaps never thought they'd have to think of disabilities, and then they have a child that has special needs. And you had your shift in your life from being
at the age of 50 going on to 51.
Exactly, into a new realm where you seem to be coping. What do you say to people when you meet them about, why they should support, why we should all be advocates for people with diverse abilities?
It was saying in Creole, today for me, tomorrow for you. Just like we rightfully say, you don't never know. You could be walking down the street, and you get hit by something, and bam, you need BAPDA, So you don't should ever have it in your thought or in your mind process that I don't want to deal with it. It has nothing to do with me. There's no connection there. There's always a connection. And we have family members. We have friends, So.
Nikki, one of the things that gets to me, because I think that one of the most difficult things, I don't know what it's like. I have no ability to even understand it. Is the issue of your dignity. I think that, and there's two things point in my head, and I want you to comment on it. The first is not just what government does or doesn't do. That's one area, but when actual businesses do have accommodation for persons with diverse abilities, and people who don't have those disabilities abuse it. For example, a simple thing like a parking lot.
Like people who use handicap parking.
No sign.
And then the argument was, I met someone that was doing it, and I said, dude, they know, the place blew for a reason. And the response was, how much people are going to shop? And I asked more before that done. How do you deal with that aspect of it, one? And the second aspect of it is, how do you ensure, what does the organization do to help people to deal with the dignity side of it? You have two kinds of people, I might find, with diverse abilities. Those people who aren't able to cope with it well, and somehow economically they're not able to move. 3 days ago, I got into a taxi that the taxi driver didn't have an entire arm. And it was not until I got into the taxi and he was reaching over with his left hand to move, to drive, that I realized, man, but so many people who have no excuse really should learn from. So those two questions. How do we deal with a society that is, I will use the word again, insensitive or at least thoughtless, when there are the facilities available, who abuse them? And secondly, what does the organization do? What does the assembly do to ensure that persons hold on to their dignity and blossom?
The first question, to answer that one, what we try to do, honestly, we can't change people personally, but we try to educate, you know, and that it's on you. Sometimes you don't feel it until it hits you, you know, so no matter how much we talk and we tell you, sometimes, you know, Mama say you have to feel to learn. You know, we hope we don't get to that stage. We hope that sometimes we just be open enough to understand and be empathetic with other people. But we don't have that culture, unfortunately. So what we try to do is just to educate. You know, we don't want to agitate, which is, again, you know, very easy in Belize. Yeah. You know, you tell somebody something, what you think, you know, you're trying to give good advice, and you may end up in the wrong part. So we just try to watch what we say and how we say it, but we try to inform them, you know, and then it's on the person. You know, and we know we have good Belizeans, we have great Belizeans. Yeah. So it's just a matter sometimes they don't know, and then sometimes they have to have an experience, you know, that will cement something in their heads, and then they change. Yeah. You know, and then for the second question, we try to talk to our members. We try to have programs and activities where they feel included and a part. So we have parades. We have meetings, we have picnics, we go on trips, you know, so we also try to push them and let them see that life is not over. Yeah. You know, just a little bit of adjustment. Just a little bit of adjustment. Yeah.
Some of the younger ones in the area, we have a Camp Joy in Bemopan, where they usually go, so we usually try find different people to send out to the camp so they can enjoy themselves for the week.
And then we model, because we have most members from the board has, I mean, a limb or they're members of the organization, so they have some disability, right? And we try to model the behavior. So we walk with our head high. There's this one young lady, I have seen her for many years, and curious Belizean, I'm always walking behind her, but I've always been fascinated because her name is Raisha. She's so proud of her prosthetic. I think she has it from very small, and she walks with that like nobody's business. And I've always, she's proud of it. She's always having on, you know, like some sharp pants and everything that's going to display it. So she walks very proudly, you know. And I've always, before coming on BAPDA, I walk behind her. I'm just being fascinated. Yeah. And when I got the opportunity to meet her and hear her story and know about her now, I'm even more fascinated by Risha and how she moves. And that's what I mean by modeling it. Yeah. You know, especially for people and she has a daughter. So her daughter's already learning how to be sensitive to people with disability. And then that's how we change. You know, that's how we change people. We may not be able to reach everybody, like we said, but if we start off on the young ones, they grow up in that manner, then we can change society in that way.
All right, let's tell people how we can help with this Dollar for Disability drive.
Contribute, support.
Not just $1 neither.
No, it could be.
But we won't limit it, right?
$1,
we won't limit it. If a little baby decide that they want to get a little shilling, we appreciate that, you know. We know times are hard in Belize, so we said $1, but with the take from the 5 cents or the 1 cent broke up in the piggy bank, all the way up. If you want to drop $1,000 in there, we'd appreciate that as well.
So we just want to help people when can't help themselves.
So some of the schools are participating, but for the rest of people, they can go to the resource center.
They can go to the resource center. We're asking for business if they want to be, hey, business community, we need your support. So if you guys want to be a part of this initiative, just put up a little can or something by your door with it, and then once you've collected it, we ask that you go to the resource center and drop it off. You can sign for whatever amount that you give so that we know who are the business that have contributed, and we can say a big thank you at the end for everybody who has done the contribution. So for schools, they're doing it like with casual day, they have a rags day or something, or they're just doing the donation.
We're asking them to use the maroon color.
Yes. Okay. So we want the place to be flooded but this color come tomorrow. You should have put on that tie tomorrow.
I will.
Nobody will know, don't worry.
Yes, and our members here, once I come on, I always hold everybody accountable. So
Nikki,
we're hoping.
throw out a figure for me finally.
Keep saying, Nikki. We'll discuss that after.
Oh, sorry. Throw out a figure. Ideally, this drive, you'd want to have 100,000 at the end of it. I know there's no, but realistically, so the business know, man, if I give $20, that would probably help, but really and truly, to run the programs,
Well, for our homebound programs, like we put together packages to take to them, which include like toiletries, groceries, any medical supplies or stuff that they may need. So it is very costly for the organization, and we kind of have nothing to start with at this point in time. Well, we have a little bit, but it's pretty much nothing. So, man, it's
To me,
we
don't have more than
let's not limit it.
Yeah, the more
Give
the
all you
merrier.
can,
Yeah.
and just remember to keep on giving.
Yeah, I know it's going to a great cause.
Absolutely. We thank you for coming in. It's so important that we know that the association exists. So if someone has someone who needs some additional support, they can reach out to BAPDA. You do have an office, as you said.
An office is on Vernon and corner of Vernon and to Bruce
Every
Street.
Tuesday and Thursday from 9 to 3, they're open.
They're open,
Okay.
yeah. So you guys can go in and stop in.
You have a Facebook page?
We have, do believe
On
we have
WhatsApp.
Facebook, and we
you have
have
a WhatsApp,
email as well.
BAPDA on WhatsApp.
All right. So what's the number that people call? Do you remember?
My number, you could get me at 615-60
Okay.
and try to get Miss
669,
Roxanne number.
1072.
All right. We'll get that information and we'll make sure we post it on our Facebook
Yeah.
page.
Please do.
Best of luck tomorrow. Everybody maroon, but don't just wear maroon. Go to the resource center and drop off a donation.
And if you can't, like we said, put up a little pan. Channel 5 can put a little
And
pan.
the president
and you
number
just drop
is
your money in and
631.
take it over.
What? This month?
631-0724. That's Miss Roxanne Marin. She is the BAPDA's president.
All right.
Yeah.
Thank you so much for coming in and best of luck.
Thank you very much.
Thank you very much.
We're going to go ahead and take our final break, and when we come back, we'll have our wrap up. So stay tuned.